Yes, I do support the deepening of the harbor. And when I get to Washington, I would rely on the people in this community that are involved with that program and get the information necessary and create a business case to continue this successful project that we've got going on here. It is a success. We need to keep it going. I would rely on the business community and the people, the experts involved in this to actually to justify why we need this and to push that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Larry?
Yes. We need both the Charleston harbors and the Georgetown harbor to be fully competitive and operational. And we have to stop the damaging dredging of the Savannah River and our foolish governor trying to sell out the Charleston ports for the Savannah River boondoggle. We do not need to have toxic waste dumped in Jasper County out of that insane project. Furthermore, we need to be exporting sweet potato ethanol. We can make it cheaper than Iowa corn ethanol.
Thank you, Larry.
The answer is emphatically yes. After 21 years on the waterfront and watching the movement of cargo in and out of the port, we have to continue to dredge and deepen our port. With the expansion of the Panama Canal, we're going to be the first deep harbor coming through the canal for imports and exports outbound. I fully am supportive of line item appropriations to make sure that happens. We need not only for maintenance and repair, for growth, and with the growth of the port comes growth of manufacturing, comes growth of jobs, and comes growth of success for the community.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
The Maersk Corporation will tell you if it weren't for my intervention, they wouldn't be here. Without the port restructuring legislation, which turned our management around, we wouldn't even be talking about harbor deepening. Of course, I support harbor deepening, and I'll make sure that it happens as your congressman as something we must do.
Thank you, Larry.
One of the biggest misconceptions about getting the funding for harbor deepening is that this money isn't there. The shipping community already pays their fees and pays to the government so that there will be money for programs like this. I support the deepening. I support the federal support of it. The issue that I've had with it is the question is, Elizabeth mentioned, is the earmarks. If you don't have dedicated funding, I've worked in D.C., you end up with a bunch of bureaucrats deciding where the money goes instead of the elected officials. So I would work to make sure that that money is dedicated to the port.
I've already met with President Jim Newsom on this, and he knows I'm going to work tirelessly for port money for dredging and deepening. Our ports are vital to South Carolina, and our ports are vital to the United States and to commerce and to shipping. It's one reason I was able to build an export market, because we had a port of Long Beach that was phenomenal and running well, and that's when we need to grow this port as much as we can, and that's essential to that is being able to handle post-Panamax ships. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Yes, absolutely. I support the deepening of our harbor. I think one advantage that I have is that I have no aspirations for a long-term political career. I'm not beholden to the parties, the leaders of the House, or the President of the United States. I work for the people of this district. So I will get in there, I will fight, I will throw elbows and do whatever it takes for what the people of this district want. So absolutely, yes, I do support that, and we will make it happen.
Thank you, Tim.
When the harbor deepening issue first came up several years ago and there was no money at the federal level to fund it, I went to Washington, I met with our congressional delegation, and I quickly realized there was going to be no money coming from Congress. They were trying to get $240,000 put into some sort of study, but that wasn't going anywhere. I then went to Columbia on the Ways and Means Committee. We had our $180 million in hand for our state match. I brought forward the concept to the committee. I said, let's just fund the federal amount too. It's the only way we'll get this done. So we funded the $80 million at the federal level too. So am I supportive of it? Yes, I helped get the money that's doing it. So yes, I think I am supportive of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chip.
I would be surprised if anybody at this table said no. But, you know, I really think we need to get back to the core functions of government, and two of those functions are national defense, and the other is infrastructure, so that we can have economic development and growth. And so our ports are very important, and I do support it. Thank you.
Well, of course, it's one of the 7 infrastructure priorities that are out there now. It's a key economic engine for not only the Low Country, but the entire nation. We've got to hit that 50-foot depth so that these mega container ships can get in and out without relying on the tides. We need to look at supporting our inland ports as well. And this is a key function of the federal government because it deals with interstate commerce as well as international trade. So absolutely.
Thank you, Ray.
Yes, our port is considered critical infrastructure, and yes, I would support its deepening. We make the best and most compelling case of all the ports that are at 45 or less to get to 50, where we need to be for the post-Panamax ships. We have a pretty well-balanced export-import in South Carolina, but the trend is for more exports, which is great for the economic growth of South Carolina.
Thank you, Andy.
I also support deepening the harbor. The only thing I worry about is having to dodge those ships when I'm heading out in the morning to go deep sea fishing. I don't know if we have fishermen here in the audience, but sometimes it can be scary when you're heading out there in the channel. But it is important. It's an economic engine. I live here in Charleston. I live on Daniel Island, so I see the port right across from the Wando River. My office is also downtown, and I overlook the shipping yards in downtown as well. In fact, I got stuck by a train yesterday as they were heading out from the port. So it is important to our community. We need to encourage it. We need to protect it. And deepening the harbor is part of it.
That door's starting to open.
Well, of course, I support deepening the harbor. In this district, it would be political suicide not to. But beyond that, and I would quote from one of the 10 key values of the Green Party, and I invite you all to visit the Green Party website. Easy to remember, www.gp.org. We must counterbalance the drive for short-term profits by assuring that economic development, new technologies, and fiscal policies are responsible to future generations, including the generations represented by these beautiful children out here. Thank you.
I support it, and I think the relevant number is this, April 2015. That's when Panama is going to get widened. And what's relevant about that is seniority is retained in the United States Congress. I was there for 3 terms, which means you jump ahead of 60% of the Republican caucus, which has direct bearing in terms of committee assignment and leverage within the system. And so I would simply ask you this, which is, do you think you'll have more voice in Washington with a brand new perspective, or with a perspective that actually has a jump on 60% of the Republican caucus? I would also say I've led leadership from the standpoint of the Bi-State Compact, but that's another story.
It's amazing how quickly we forget that we were against things before we were for them. And it's amazing that people up here can tell you that they were for the port when they were against the port. The port is the lifeblood of this state. We're the largest exporter of cars, largest exporter of tires. That wouldn't happen if we weren't a port state. It is critical. The money has now been put together, which is great, but we need to make sure that the port stays as viable as possible, however possible. Thank you very much.